Let me ask you something that might feel uncomfortable. What if the reason money keeps slipping through your fingers has nothing to do with your job, your education, or even your decisions? What if the real reason, the one nobody talks about, is that you are carrying a financial curse you inherited before you ever earned your first dollar? Stop scrolling, because the next 20 minutes could change the trajectory of your entire family line. I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me. There is a wealth transfer happening right now on this earth, not in the stock market, not in crypto, not through some get-rich-quick scheme your cousin keeps texting you about. This transfer is spiritual. It is biblical. And if you are watching this video right now, I genuinely believe it is not by accident. There is something in you that is meant to receive what heaven has already set aside. Now here is where it gets real. A woman in my community, I will call her Diane. She worked 2 jobs for 11 years, nursing shifts during the day, waitressing 3 nights a week. She watched her coworkers buy houses. She watched her younger sister take vacations. And every single time Diane got close to saving something real, something happened. A car broke down, a medical bill, a family emergency that only ever seemed to find her bank account. She told me once, "I feel like I am running on a treadmill. I work harder than everyone I know, but I stay in the same place." Does that sound familiar? Because I have heard that exact sentence from more people than I can count. And here is what I know about Diane, and what I know about you if you are watching this. The problem was never her work ethic. The problem was that she was trying to fill a financial future with natural tools, while a spiritual door in her life had never been opened. Let me explain what I mean by that. In Scripture, there is a concept that most churches gloss over because it makes people uncomfortable. It is the idea of generational blessing and generational curse. We talk a lot about generational trauma now. Psychology has caught up with what the Bible said thousands of years ago. But the financial dimension of it? That one stays quiet. That one stays in the shadows. Think about your family for a moment. Really think. Your parents, their parents, were there patterns? Not just patterns of poverty, necessarily, but patterns of almost. Patterns of close but never quite. Patterns of sacrifice without reward, of working without building, of giving without ever receiving. That is not just a socio-economic pattern. That is a spiritual pattern. And spiritual patterns require spiritual solutions. Now, I want to be careful here, because I know some of you watching have heard this kind of language twisted into manipulation. People have used spiritual wealth as a reason to take money from struggling people and promise blessings that never came. That is not what this is. I am not going to ask you for anything. What I am going to do is show you something from Scripture that is so specific, so clear, that once you see it, you will not be able to unsee it. Proverbs 13:22. Look it up later if you want to verify it yourself. It says this: "A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous." Read that second half again. A sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. That is not poetry. That is a promise. There is wealth that has been accumulated, gathered, built by people who did not deserve it, who built it on wrong foundations, who moved against God's design, and that wealth is being held. It is sitting in a kind of spiritual escrow, and it is assigned to the righteous. Now I want to ask you something genuinely, not rhetorically. When you read the word righteous, did a little voice in your head say, "That's not me"? Did you immediately feel like that word belongs to someone else? Someone more holy, more together, more deserving? That is the curse speaking. That is the exact lie that keeps chosen people from receiving chosen blessings. Because here is what righteousness actually means in this context. It does not mean perfect. It does not mean sinless. It means aligned. It means positioned. It means walking in covenant with God, even when you are broken, even when you are tired, even when you are confused about why the harvest has not come. Diane was righteous. She did not know it, but she was. And I want to tell you what happened to her, but first I need to build something with you, because if I just jump to the miracle, you will think it is a nice story and move on. I want you to understand the mechanism. I want you to understand how this actually works, because that understanding is what changes your posture, and posture is what changes your position. Here is the thing about wealth transfer that nobody tells you. It almost never looks like what you expect. We have been trained, by culture, by movies, by Instagram, to think that wealth comes in dramatic moments. The big check, the lottery win, the viral moment, the one investment that goes to the moon. And so we spend our lives looking in the wrong direction, watching the horizon for a ship, while the provision is walking through our back door. In the Bible, the greatest wealth transfers did not look like winning. They looked like preparation, alignment, and what I would call divine timing, which is just a spiritual way of saying that God had a plan, and the person finally stopped fighting it. Joseph spent years in a pit and in prison. Not exactly a wealth transfer moment, but every single experience, every betrayal, every dark season was repositioning him. And when the transfer happened, it happened on a scale his brothers literally could not believe. They came looking for food and found their brother running Egypt. Your family is going to find you running something. I mean that, not as a motivational line, as a prophecy. Because the pattern in Scripture is consistent. The ones who were despised become the ones who are sought. The ones who were overlooked become the ones who are overflowing. And the transition between those two realities is almost always preceded by a season that feels like the opposite of progress. Can I get personal for a second? I know what it feels like to look at your life and not be able to see where the breakthrough is going to come from. I know what it feels like to pray the same prayer so many times that the words stop feeling like prayer and start feeling like habit. I know what it is like to watch someone less qualified, less honest, less intentional than you get what you have been believing for. I know that feeling. It has a specific bitterness to it that is hard to describe. But here is what I also know. That feeling is a test. Not because God is cruel, but because wealth without character creates catastrophe. You have seen it. People who come into sudden money without the emotional and spiritual foundation to hold it, it destroys them. The relationships, the health, the sense of self. It is not that they did not deserve the money. It is that the money arrived before the person was ready to be trusted with it. What God does, what heaven's economy does, is build the person first. And if you are in a season of building right now, if things are hard and unclear and it feels like you are being compressed from every direction, I need you to hear this. Compressed things do not stay compressed forever. Pressure creates diamonds. It also creates explosions. The difference is the vessel. You are being made into a vessel. Let me come back to Diane because the moment happened in a way she never could have planned. It was not a check in the mail. It was not a lottery ticket. It was a conversation. A random Tuesday afternoon at a church event she almost did not attend, with a woman she had never met. That woman happened to be a real estate attorney, and in the conversation, Diane mentioned something about her grandmother's house, something she had always assumed had been lost in debt when her grandmother died. The attorney stopped mid-sentence. She asked a few questions, and what unfolded over the next 3 months was the discovery that a property had been held in a legal trust, a trust Diane's grandmother had set up in the 1970s that nobody in the family knew about. And that property, now in the middle of a developed neighborhood, was worth something the family had never seen in one place. Was that luck? Coincidence? I do not believe in coincidences that specific. Diane told me she had been praying. Not perfectly, not consistently, but genuinely for almost 2 years that God would open a door she did not know existed. That was the exact prayer, a door she did not know existed. And when it opened, it looked like a conversation at a church event. It looked like almost not going. It looked like 30 seconds of mentioning something she thought was irrelevant. That is how heaven funds things, not always in fire and thunder. Sometimes in 30-second conversations you almost do not have. Now here is the piece I need you to understand about the title of this video. Your family will not believe it. And that is part of the story. When Diane told her family what had been discovered, the first response was not celebration. It was suspicion. Her brother thought it was a scam. Her mother said it could not be real. Her aunt wanted to know who Diane had paid and how much. The skepticism was so thick you could feel it through her voice when she described it to me. And she said something I think about all the time. She said, "The people closest to me were the last ones to believe God had done something for me." That is biblical. That is exactly biblical. Jesus could not do many miracles in his own hometown, not because the power was not there, because the belief was not there. Familiarity breeds doubt. The people who knew you when you had nothing have the hardest time seeing you in your blessing. They love you. Most of them genuinely love you. But they have a picture of you that does not include abundance. And when the abundance comes, it challenges their picture. And some people would rather defend their picture than celebrate your reality. Do not let that surprise you. Do not let it hurt you more than it has to. Understand it for what it is and keep moving. Because the wealth transfer is real, even when nobody in your family believes it yet. Let me talk now about what I call the 3 postures of a person who is positioned for heaven's transfer. Because this is not just about believing it is coming. It is about how you carry yourself while you wait, while you walk, while you work. The first posture is expectation without entitlement. There is a difference between expecting a blessing and demanding one. Entitlement says, "I deserve this and God owes it to me." Expectation says, "I trust that what God promised will come, and I will keep showing up faithfully until it does." Entitlement closes doors. Expectation keeps them open. The posture of a person who receives a wealth transfer is not arrogant. It is anchored. They are not pacing anxiously. They are planted deeply, and they are growing in the direction of the light even when the rain is late. The second posture is generosity before the breakthrough. I know that sounds backwards. Give before you receive? But this is one of the most consistent patterns in Scripture and in lived experience. The people who receive large portions almost always have a track record of faithfulness with small ones. Not to earn the blessing, you cannot earn grace, but because generosity is a spiritual act that aligns your heart with the economy of heaven. When you give from your lack, you are declaring that you believe abundance is coming. That declaration has weight. It moves things. I have watched people in severe financial distress decide to give something, a meal, a small amount of money, their time, a resource they did not have much of, and watched doors open for them within weeks that they had been knocking on for years. I am not saying give to get. I am saying that generosity repositions you spiritually in a way that nothing else quite does. The third posture is readiness. This one is practical. Get your house in order. Not because you are trying to earn the transfer, but because when the moment comes, you need to be able to receive it. What does that look like? It looks like knowing what your credit situation is and working on it. It looks like having a basic understanding of how money works, investments, real estate, business structures. It looks like not being in a state of such financial chaos that a transfer would get swallowed immediately by old debts and bad habits. Heaven does not want to put new wine in old wineskins. That is not punishment. That is protection. Prepare the container. Now I want to speak to someone specific who is watching this right now. You have been through a season that has felt like abandonment, like the prayers went up but nothing came down, like you watched other people get blessed while you did everything right and stayed stuck. And a quiet voice in the back of your mind has been whispering that maybe it is just not for you. Maybe you are not the type who gets the big story. Maybe you are just meant to help other people reach their destiny while yours stays small. That voice is a liar. And I need you to hear that not as encouragement, but as information. That specific thought, that specific brand of quiet resignation, is one of the most sophisticated weapons the enemy uses against chosen people. Because it does not look like attack, it looks like acceptance. It looks like peace even. And some people have mistaken their assignment for their limitation. You are not limited. You are in process. The wealth transfer assigned to your family line is real. The inheritance that was interrupted, delayed, stolen, mismanaged across generations, God knows every detail of it. And there is a restoration that is coming that goes beyond what was lost. Restoration in God's economy does not mean getting back to zero. It means being brought forward with interest. Think about Job. He did not just get his stuff back. He got double. The Bible specifically says God gave him twice as much as he had before. Double. For what was taken. For what was lost. For the years of suffering. Your double is assigned. I want to close with something practical because I believe in giving you something to do, not just something to feel. After this video, I want you to do 3 things. First, write down what you are believing for, not vaguely, specifically. A number, a situation, a property, a business, a debt that needs to be canceled. Specific faith gets specific answers. Vague hoping gets vague results. Put it in writing and date it. Second, identify one act of generosity you can do in the next 7 days. Not a massive sacrifice, something real and meaningful. Give it with expectation, not transaction. The seed is not the payment. The seed is the declaration.